Welcome to the Simply Jesus podcast. This season, we are focusing on what it looks like to be Jesus in your daily life or business. And I'm excited to bring you these inspiring stories. So, I've kind of been getting this sense that there is a lot of emotional unraveling happening in the world for one reason or another. And it's kind of like everything in our past is getting pushed to the surface and almost like it's being demanded to being dealt with. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I actually have personally experienced that. And it's a little unnerving, but I do love that our Lord is wanting us to be as emotionally healthy as possible, or He's wanting to break bad habits and He's wanting the best for us. And it's really true that He loves us too much to let us just kind of waller in a mess. Um, he wants better things for us. So, as I was kind of praying about that, I felt in my spirit that we really could use some hope and love from a great big God as we kind of all deal with our stuff. And I immediately thought of this wonderful book called Three Trees by Matt Beckenham. It's really one of my favorite books, and I've talked about it before on the podcast, but I decided I'm going to go ahead and read it to you one chapter at a time. So it shouldn't be too long. It'll probably be less than 10 minutes, but I truly want to share this wonderful book with you because it was so profound. It's written so well. And ultimately, at the very theme of it, it is just about how much the Lord God, your maker, knows you and loves you so deeply. And I think it really will bring you some kind of hope and maybe a new understanding of how great God is and just how much He cares about you. Okay, so let's get started. Prologue. Eden is the place of my birth, or should I say my creation. It's a land filled with so much life. I don't remember being a young eagle, and to be truthful, I have no idea how old I am or how many days have passed since that first day sitting with the designer. This land the designer simply called Eden feels beyond description. To be able to understand all that he has created, one must encounter it. From the smallest insect to the greatest mountain, all of it carries the designer's heart and handiwork. He is in every detail and can be seen in everything he has created, including me. The mountains here in Eden surpass imagination. They tower up from the ground, and few animals can climb high enough to see all they hold. The tops of these mountains are so high, they reach into the clouds. And when the clouds aren't hiding their peaks, they reveal the snow that crowns them. They are magnificent to behold. To fly to the top, I pass over forests of pine and cedar trees. Their scent often beckons me to come and land in them and to breathe deeply of the fresh air that they produce. The animals that roam among them are a wonder to behold. There are so many species here that I find it hard to remember them all. Above the tree line lies whole tussock grass areas that move so beautifully in the wind. I love to sit and watch this happen. There I can feel the rhythm of his design as I see and feel the subtle changes in the atmosphere around me. Above the tussock, there is very little growth. I think it's too cold for many things to grow in these places. However, rocky outcrops can be covered in moss, lichen, and the most beautiful tiny wildflowers. Even though these flowers are small, they contain every color imaginable. They are so delicate and yet so full of life. Above them, I get to the snow. It glistens in the bright sunlight. It is cold up here, but it is no less beautiful. When the sun is on the snow for long enough, it melts, providing the most extraordinary waterfalls flowing from the mountains. There are no two the same. They have forged pathways through the crust of the mountains, which end up in beautiful turquoise pools of water that feed the mighty rivers surrounding Eden. I feel I have gone through 4 different seasons by the time I have flown to the top of these mountains. I have watched more sunsets and sunrises than I could possibly remember, but each one of them is somehow stunningly memorable. The colors that streak across the sky are unique and beautiful. I often forget all else around me as I sit in awe. I love the designer's creation. I love my design. I can soar further than the other animals. I have learned to find the thermal winds, enabling me to go higher and higher. He has given me eyes to see a tiny movement from a great distance. Not much escapes me. When soaring high on the thermals, I feel the fullness of my design. I feel free to be who I am, go where I wish to go, and see all there is to see. The designer has created many different types of birds, and they are all so beautiful and perfect in their own way. Many of them have voices and create such melodious songs. When I hear them sing, I can sense the joy of the designer, and he loves to listen to his creation operating in its design. Few of those birds can fly where I can reach. I don't know why he created me like this. All I know is that when I'm soaring well, there are no words to describe all I am experiencing in those moments. Often, when I join the designer walking through Eden in the time he loves best, the cool of the evening, he asks me what I have seen. The smile rarely leaves his face as I describe all I have experienced. I know he already knows everything I am describing. He made it, but it brings him such joy when I share my experience with him. There was even a time when I said to him, "You would not believe what I have seen." I laugh at those words now. I love to fly close to him as he walks. I often hear him saying to himself, "It is good." At first, I thought he was talking to me, but on one of those days, of one of those weeks, of one of those months, of one of those years, I realized he was simply speaking to himself of the wonder of his creation. And truly, everything here is good. Everything is working in harmony, and everything is of his design. Everything works so organically. I watch as pairs of animals become families of animals. I watch as seeds of trees become trees of their own, just by the seed working its way into the ground. There is something about the ground, too. Again, it's hard to explain, but I feel alive when I'm sitting on it. It's like the essence of the designer flows through it, which to me feels like life and joy flow from it. Chapter 1. My favorite time of day is the dawn. I love watching as the sun moves across all the designer created. As its warmth touches everything, creation comes alive. I love soaring above it all to watch it come alive. The colors, the scents, the sounds, and the coolness connect my spirit with his creation. This is my home. Here I rest in the precision and purpose of my design to be his eyes and ears and report back to him everything I witness in Eden, his garden, the beloved blueprint of the designer himself. I witnessed when the designer first created a person in his own image, and it was a wonder to behold. I saw him form Adam from the dust with his own hands, but when he breathed into Adam, all of creation stood still and held its breath. We all witnessed the first breath of those made in his image. I remember when the designer presented each of us to Adam. We all received our names from him that day. He looked each of us in the eye and lovingly spoke our identity over us. It is a fine thing to know who I am. Oh, but then I witnessed something that stirred my heart. After naming all of us, Adam asked the designer about his partner. He longed to walk with someone like him. The designer already knew of his need, and he obviously had a plan to make this happen. That evening, the designer put Adam into a deeper sleep than he had ever known. It is impossible to describe how the designer did it, but he took half of Adam and formed another. Then, as he had before, he breathed into the new one like he did with Adam. When she breathed in and awoke, we all saw that although she was similar, she was different, and she was beautiful. The designer simply called her Eve. When Adam awoke, he could not believe what he was seeing. The designer had taken one and made two, but when they were together, their hearts made them one again. Wherever they went in Eden, they would always be together. The joy they shared affected all of creation. When they laughed, we all laughed. When they spoke, we all listened. I remember when the designer told them about the plants in Eden. The wonder on their faces was infectious as they learned about each plant and its unique design. The day the designer led them through the fruit trees is a day I will never forget. They ate every fruit they saw until they could eat no more. There were oranges, plums, apples, avocados, grapefruit, passion fruit, and mangoes. The list goes on and on. They never tired of returning daily to feast on another fruit they had yet to try. I was also there the day the designer showed them the two trees in the middle of Eden. The mighty tree of life stood as the centerpiece of his design. It was easily the largest tree in the garden and was stunning to behold. Its fruit was equally stunning to taste. The designer told them we could all eat from it whenever they liked, and with just a bite of this fruit, I would feel life pulsing through every fiber of my body. There was another tree near it. It wasn't nearly as big, and its fruit wasn't nearly as beautiful. The designer called it the tree of knowledge of good and bad. He told them plainly that this fruit was not to be eaten, or death would result. Every animal knew this as well. Although he did not say any such thing to us, we each kept away from its fruit. And truly, I tell you, Adam and Eve lacked nothing as they were given everything. The designer would walk with them every evening while they listened to every word that flowed from him. All of creation responded at the sound of his voice. As he spoke, we could all feel his love through every word. That was until one of those days, in one of those weeks, in one of those months, in one of those years when everything changed. Each day in Eden was a gift, another glimpse into the life running through the tree. I was delighted to watch the man and the woman feast on the most treasured fruits. I feasted myself, and as I did, a warmth flowed through and out of me. Each cell within me experienced the love and vibrant life that cascaded from every bite. You see, I know the taste and the pleasure. Day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year, I watched the man, the woman, and every living thing partake in the purest form of love ever known. But it was Adam and Eve that I had been commissioned to focus my watch on. I knew them as I knew myself. I watched every path they would take, and I was filled with joy while observing them living in their perfect design, just as they were destined to. But the day everything changed came swiftly, and I could not stop it or save them, and I could not step outside of time and pull them back on track. Their path of choice began to concern me. Over time, their path widened, and then they began to move around differently. Their footsteps moved closer and closer to the tree that had not been offered to them. Each day they would walk by. I flew closer when they did, but I did not intervene. I just observed. One day I saw them point at the tree and then continue on. The next day they stopped at the tree and spoke about it. They were wondering what the fruit might taste like, but then they continued on their path. I felt my feathers bristle, a sensation that had never occurred before. Until now, no creature had gone near the tree, for we all knew the words spoken to Adam and what would happen if they ate from that tree. During this time, I noticed something strange begin to happen. Each time Adam and Eve walked near the tree, all the creatures in Eden became restless. The peace in Eden would start to splinter and bristle, and sometimes a mist would arise as confused murmurs began simmering. It only happened when Adam and Eve neared the tree, and things would settle back to peace as they moved away. There are some days that remain etched in my mind, and this was such a day. One of the animals in Eden that Adam had called a lizard wasn't acting like a lizard. It wasn't making lizard sounds, and all the other lizards began avoiding it. I watched as the strange lizard began lurking near the tree of knowledge of good and bad, as though he were hunting for something. He began moving through Eden differently. He steered clear of the tree of life. An alarm rustled through me as he settled beneath the other tree. It was almost as if the atmosphere shifted. Eden became still and moved in slow motion before my eyes. Eve walked the path alone that day and came upon the tree. The lizard appeared to be hoping for this, relying on this separation of the man and the woman. Then suddenly, words like those that only Adam and Eve had spoken came out of its mouth. I saw the sky grow dark and knew I had to move quickly. I had to tell the designer. He needed to know what was happening under this tree. But before I could take flight to find him, I became acutely aware of his presence. He was sitting beside me in my watchtower tree, and he was watching as well. My entire being was swirling with unease. I implored him, "My lord, allow me to use the razor-sharp talons you gave me. I will pluck that lizard away from Eve and drop him off a cliff, ending the corruption." Gently, he spoke to me. This is Eve's moment. She has been here before. She knows my words, and now she has a choice. Never had I raised my voice to the designer, but shrillness screamed out of me, and I screeched, "This will affect us all!" He emphasized to me, "This is Eve's moment." Aghast, I pleaded with him, "Allow me to bring the man Adam here. Surely he will stop this." "No," said the Lord. "I have given Adam my words. He knows them, and today we will see if he trusts them." The designer, my Lord, God of the universe, then turned toward me and looking right into my being said, "Can you see what is happening to my creation when my words are silenced? Can you feel it in the atmosphere? Can you see the turmoil within the animals? Can you feel it within yourself? You've never felt the feelings flowing through you right now at this moment." Every fiber of my being lurched and spilled out as tears seared my feathers. I cried out, "All this is wasted then, all of it, the peace, the harmony, the connection, and the love." "No," he replied, "nothing is wasted. The worst this strange lizard can do is nothing compared to what my love can do. You are about to see the power of death in all its fullness, but through it, and given time, you will see the infinite power of my love. It is beyond anything and everything a corrupt lizard can offer." I sat next to my Lord, the designer, and watched in horror. As Eve took a bite of the fruit, a trickle of crimson ran down her lips and chin. I grieved as I watched Adam move toward them, and as Eve had eaten, so did Adam. The strange lizard's face became distorted by a smug expression. In the grave moment, the man Adam and woman Eve realized exactly what they had done. The lizard cackled and mocked. His laughter over their shame burned their skin as they scrambled for leaves to cover themselves and hide from God. The lizard had tried to hide from God once before, but he quickly found out that there was nowhere he could hide. So that's what he did. That strange, distorted lizard just waited for God to come. And I could see into his soul that when the designer came, the filthy lizard would gloat. Rage tore through me. It was something I had never felt before, and its power gripped and terrified me. I could feel myself losing control when the designer's voice, the voice that soothes and heals, the voice that breathes life and cascades over grief like honey, gently settled me. He said, "They have eaten the fruit they were told not to, but there is the tree of life, and it is not broken. It will continue to do all that I planned for it to do." If the strange lizard had been wise, he would have tried to convince Adam and Eve that it should be chopped down or destroyed. But he did not, and he will soon see the error of his thinking. Perching myself again and settling my wings, even in my nearness to the designer, I could not help but lament over all I had just witnessed. A feeling of helplessness and uselessness came upon me. My Lord had given me a job to watch over the ones like him, the ones made in his image, his beloved Adam and Eve. And when all I wanted to do was protect them, rescue them, and prevent them from their gravest decision of their lives, the designer had not allowed it. It was then that I first knew the wrestle of pride and doubt, and that is when my Lord reached out. He knew my thoughts. He gently placed his hand upon my head and stroked it for a time. And as when he first created me, I relaxed beneath his touch, his love drawing me back to warmth and wholeness. Then he spoke out of the words that shifted the atmosphere again with their beauty. You have been given the privilege of watching two of the most powerful forces that exist at work. The first is choice, the ability to choose to be in relationship with me. The second is love. When I get down from this tree and go find my beloved ones, you will see the beginnings of the greatest love story that has ever been known. This time, no strange lizard will be able to stop it. The designer looked up at the sky and saw that the sun was setting, the warmth of the day was lifting, and the stars would soon fill the sky with their glittering as the cool of the evening moved through Eden. I knew this was the time of day that he loved the most. It was the time when he would walk in the quiet of the evening with those he created to be in relationship with. Okay, so that was the prologue and chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love for you to go out and purchase this book, Three Trees. It truly is beautiful to see God from this perspective. And as we go through this book, you are going to see the way that he loves Adam and Eve, even in their sin. I can't wait for you to hear the rest of it. I also wanted to let you know that I put information about the author, Matt Beckenham, in the show notes so that you could find him, find his other books. He has a website titled Greater Things International where you can find a bunch of information about him. He offers classes and mentorship. It's a really great resource if you want to check it out. And then I've also added the link so you can buy his book, Three Trees, if you're interested. Also, if this is a helpful format, I would love for you to send me a little bit of feedback or somehow let me know if this is resonating with you. But I would love to just hear back from you. Thanks.